Well, this movie was a lot more Republican than I was expecting it to be. Hi, my name is Ryan Lane, and welcome to my review channel. So, for today's movie, I will be reviewing Silent Night, directed by John Woo and starring Joel Kinnaman, Scott Mescudi, Catalina Moreno, and Harold Torres. So, following a tragic gang shooting that leaves his son dead and his vocal cords destroyed, Brian Godluck, played by Joel Kinnaman, dedicates the next year of his life to preparing to kill the members of the gang that accidentally killed his son. That's kind of it. I mean, there's a detective played by Scott Mescudi, but his character doesn't amount to much besides, being on the receiving end of exposition and helping our main protagonist murder a bajillion Mexican gang members by the time the end credits roll. There's also Brian's wife, Saya, played by Catalina Morena, but this character isn't given much to do beyond be sad and try to desperately support her husband through his grief. And the generic gang leader, Playa, played by Harold Torres, is more or less a generic gang member with a penchant for an ornately decorated man cave. So before I talk about the film's big, and I do mean really big flaw, I'll talk about some of the good stuff. For starters, the cinematography. The cinematography lends an ethereal, almost dreamlike feeling to the proceedings, with almost every scene featuring an eerie white glow around the edges of the frame, plus the tracking continuous one takes help lend the film sort of a dreamlike feeling that you're rather than watching real events, you're watching a person remember events in a weird way. Plus, the one takes, they also lend themselves to some pretty fun action sequences that yeah, and the one take, it enhances rather than detracts away from the choreography, as opposed to films like, say, Plane, which was more enchanted with its one take gimmick than actually doing a decent action sequence. That said, the cinematography, weirdly enough, gets really choppy in the film's final act, especially in like the main warehouse where the rest of the action takes place. It's oddly choppy. It's like, did you guys get a new director or editor, or like what happened? So, despite having relatively thin material, the actors do show themselves to be more than up to the task of playing characters with minimal to zero dialogue. Like Joel Kinnaman, he pretty much has zero dialogue. Like even before his vocal cords are destroyed, he doesn't say so much as a single line of dialogue, and yet he gives a solid performance. Like he manages to convey every emotion his character is feeling very well with his body language and his face. Like he is a very easy to read character. The visuals make it very easy to track his emotional state and where he is in his rather politically icky journey, but I'll get to that later. Catalina Moreno, again, her characters aren't written, but she manages to bring a lot more depth to it than exists on paper, and you can see that the two characters, Saya and Brian, they have great chemistry together, and you can believe that they're a real couple going through one of the worst imaginable things that can happen to a group of parents. So they sell that very well. Unfortunately, the Playa character played by Harold Torres, and the detective played by Mescudi, unfortunately, these actors aren't able to elevate the material for these characters. I mean, they handle the material well enough, but they don't add that much to the characters. Okay, now we've come to the film's biggest problem, the writing. Again, the film's writing does a solid job of conveying its story with practically zero dialogue. The closest the film gets to dialogue is like radio and music clips that the film uses to convey some exposition, but beyond that, there's very little dialogue, and the film manages to convey a lot of story. So I give it props there. What I don't give it props for is the politically awkward subtext. Well, not awkward, just plain morally icky. So the film feels like it was designed to be shown at a campaign rally by a Republican war hawk that wants to wage war with Mexico to stop drug trafficking. That may admittedly seem like hyperbole, but hear me out. Hear me out. So the film starts out in the suburbs, an area shown to be otherwise tranquil. That is until crime spreads from the city's urban center via a gang war that accidentally kills a kid. Our white, I might add, protagonist decides to then go on a one-man killing spree and kill each and every thinly written Mexican gang member. And it doesn't help the fact that said Mexican gang is called GI7, which feels like a very thinly disguised allusion to the real life gang MS-13. Hell, Brian literally writes, "Kill them all" on his calendar. Like that's how blatant the subtext is. And no, being directed by a Chinese filmmaker and giving said white protagonist a black cop friend to murder said gang members does not improve matters. So, though it features plenty of talent on both sides of the camera, Silent Night is unfortunately hampered by thin writing and dubious political subtext. So with all that in mind, I will be giving Silent Night 2.5 out of 5 stars. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. If you like this review and would like to see more like it, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. And for today's comment section prompt of the day, what is your favorite John Woo movie and why?